Hey man.
Hey man, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Alright, so if I had this cup and I filled water to about halfway, would you say it's half full or half empty?
I mean, if you're feeling it, it'll be half full. That's what I'd say.
Oh, well, that means you're a pessimist. Nah, you're a optimist.
Optimist.
Yeah,
Pessimist.
yeah.
Shut the fuck up. All right. This is not primary school anymore.
Oh well, it's like a
No,
real
seriously,
like,
like-
psychological thing.
It's a real psychological thing. Nah,
Yeah.
Every time, every
Yeah.
time in primary school, in every math class and shit, you know how much I find that annoying, but
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
scientific
But like,
thing.
bro, if you go on Wikipedia, if you search up optimism, so I did a bit of research on this thing. Now I just went on Wikipedia, search up optimism, and it says like the first paragraph, it's like half full, then you're optimist, and if it's half empty, you're a pessimist. So yeah,
Shut
interesting.
the
Yeah.
fuck up. I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
But-
It is
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you?
But wait.
Yeah?
For me, I would say probably depending on my mood, like half empty, half full.
If you're okay. So I was gonna ask, would you consider yourself
Yeah.
a pessimist or an optimist? Which one would you lean more towards, or like which one do you see the value of more?
Well, I'm kind of pessimistic, so towards pessimistic, but you know how like most people they would say, oh, pessimistic is a guy who would always act down and always act sad, and like
Depressed.
you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But I'm more of a pessimist, as in like when I view something or when I think about the future, I'm more pessimistic. So let's say I don't know, like when you have an exam, you're like, oh, I think the test is going to be hard. I might screw up. So you have those thoughts rather than, oh, it's going to be easy, you know? Like, so in that regard, would say I'm a pessimist, but in some regards, I would say I'm a pessimist, but yeah, I'm towards pessimist. But how about you, like in general?
Well, first of all, it's not a pessimist; it's an optimist.
Yeah, I keep getting it wrong. I don't know why.
Positivity. I don't know. How about me? Yeah, no. Like when we were talking about it earlier, I did see the value of pessimism. Like it's not like a negative thing on its own. But I also see the value of like optimism, and I'd want to say I'm more of an optimistic person, with like an optimistic outline.
Well, I mean, you clearly said the water was half full. So
I mean,
I guess that makes you an optimist. Yeah.
yeah, but by logic as well, it would be half full because you filled it up. If you say you got a full cup and you like empty it halfway, is it half full or half empty? Then I'd say half empty. So like maybe. I don't know. But no, I would say I see the value of optimism more than pessimism because
Right.
I guess it's easy to kind of spiral down with pessimism and kind of just like
that's really true.
yeah, kind of just like stay in a dump where like you don't have hope for the future. Where optimism, you'll like strive to do better and like improve. Like you'll have hope and you'll actually strive towards something.
Yeah.
But it's also dangerous being too optimistic without a little bit of pessimism, because pessimism I think grounds you in reality and like shows you what like how hard something is, and you actually have to work for it to get to what you're working for. So it does it does have pros and cons, but I'd say I'm more of an optimist.
Right. So I'm planning, maybe in this podcast we'll discuss about like the benefits of optimism and then like negatives, and then like shift towards pessimism,
Right.
and then discuss the pros and cons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a solid plan for this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Then maybe we can wrap it up at the end. Yeah. And then I also want to talk about expectations as well, because I think it links well with this topic. So would having high expectations lead to a happier life, or having lower expectations lead to a happier life? So,
I see.
well, I guess this is referring back to our previous topic about happiness. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
But I think that's just happiness is just like it encompasses like everything, basically, like the way we live.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nah, that's very true. It's good. Yeah. So yeah, why do you think some people are more pessimistic and some people are more optimistic when they're in the same kind of yeah? Like, why do you think there's
Right.
such a diversity in people's outlooks?
Well, first of all, like personality, obviously. Um, Maybe your environment and like the way you were educated by your surroundings, by your friends and family and teachers, and just the people around you. So it's a mix of. Well, I did do a bit of psychology in uni as an elective, so um, there could be a bit of genetics involved with like personality, obviously. So maybe that could change the way you think optimistic or pessimistically, and then obviously the environment, so the way you were taught and the way you were taught to think about things. So it's just a combination of those.
I see.
So,
Yeah,
yeah. So you would agree?
I would
right?
agree, but I think that genetics doesn't play as big a role in that as
Right.
like maybe it does, but like I think it would be very minor because like genetics with like your mental space, I feel like it's very very secondary compared to like your environment because
Right. Yeah.
your environment shapes you as like the mental person you are. But I feel like people are more pessimistic if they're more like run down in their life, they've had
Yeah.
worse luck than the average person and all that, and people are optimistic when
Right.
they're like
Yeah.
everything went right for them and like they had a easier life.
Right.
Yeah, so like it really depends on how they were brought up, so
But how about like imposter syndrome? So let's say you know what imposter syndrome is, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's when you're, let's say you're in a successful position, but you feel like you don't belong
Right.
there and you feel like an outsider. So wouldn't that? So you know how you said if you're more lucky and you get more success, you would tend to be optimistic. But how about people with like as I said, imposter syndrome? How do you explain that?
I feel like people with imposter syndrome, they got lucky or like they became successful very in a very like in a like it kind of very suddenly, you know what I mean? They became successful very suddenly and like they were like their life was kind of low and like very mellow, and then they suddenly like got into a high position and then they got successful, so they always feel like they're still back here instead of like being up here. So like in their mind they're still they haven't processed the shift where I think if like a guy built up his company very slowly over like decades and then got up to here like his CEO position, I feel like he would have less of a chance of being imposter and having the imposter syndrome because he's like
Right.
gone through the
Yeah.
journey instead of
Yeah.
just kind of skipping the hardships.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get but I'm not sure if what you said was valid because obviously, imposter syndrome is a very
Yeah.
complicated topic. So I guess it's more of a scientific thing. But yeah, maybe we should just talk about more like personal like stuff. Just like our own experience and stuff. Getting too scientific because for that I think we would need like much
Yeah,
more
true,
research.
true. I
And
mean,
scientific.
I have no
like,
clue what I'm
yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I don't want to spread
I
false
mean-
information. Like just keep it like
I feel
chill.
like
Yeah.
if we are spreading false information, this is like the least harmful, information we could be spreading. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Just two dudes just
two
talking about shit. Yeah.
uneducated dudes trying to guess how life works.
Yeah.
No, but like
Yeah.
with what I said, I feel like that's like what I would assume to be the reason behind imposter syndrome, like the variations. But obviously I'm not too sure. But yeah, personal experiences. Would you reckon that like if you had to be one or the other for like the rest of your life, would you reckon it's better to be an optimist or a pessimist?
Oh, okay. Again, like every time like I get these questions, it's always
Yeah,
depends.
of course. I mean,
yeah, which is boring. So like,
and
I would probably be an optimist, I guess, for I don't know, just probably more
Right,
get more
yeah.
satisfaction out of. Yeah.
no, that is true. Like even if you aren't successful, if you have
Yeah.
that hope, you are gonna be more like happy overall.
Yeah. But I guess it always depends on the environment. Yeah. Like let's say, or it depends on situations. you know, like those hunter gatherers, they will like always look around the surroundings, and they'll be like, oh, there might be a tiger or like a lion behind me. So you're always being pessimistic.
Cautious.
Like, you're always thinking about the worst situation. Yeah, cautious. Yeah, but let's say if you're optimistic, you're like, oh no, we're fine. We're like,
they're the
there's
ones that
nothing
die.
Yeah, but then, so and you're like hunting for food. You'll be like, oh, you know, let's say you're chasing this deer. You wouldn't want to be optimistic because you'll be running for like the whole day. Because that's what hunter gatherers did back then. They would chase deers or like, I don't know, just boars or just anything for a whole day. You want to be optimistic because if you're pessimistic, you'll just give up and probably die off.
So what you're saying is it's crucial to have both. It's crucial to have a balance of both because otherwise you'll die. That is true. I feel like in like a more dangerous type of world, it would be better to be pessimistic, right? Because pessimistic, right? But with the still the same survival instincts and like the same will to like survive. You know, he's not just. It's not like he's depressed and he just wants to die and like, you know, give up and sit down and just. But no, he still wants to live, but he's just pessimistic. I feel like in a dangerous environment, that is much better because he'll always be cautious. He'll always be like preparing for the worst case scenario, right? And he'll always have like a plan or some shit. Because he's always. But that's the thing. Like I was gonna say, he'll always have a plan. But would he bother making a plan if he's already pessimistic? See, like optimism dictates that he would have a plan because he has hope for survival. So it's you can't have one without the other, you know. That is strange, but you know, it's better because compared to that, to like an optimistic person in a dangerous environment, they'll just be like, oh, you know, I won't die today, like it can't be me, nothing will happen to me, and they just go along and they just get like killed off. So it has different situations, and I think if it's in like a you know, like a utopic society where like everything's, you know, safe and nice and all that, people will be more optimistic. Well, like, sorry, it would be better to be more like just optimistic if you had to pick one, because everything's kind of taken care of, or like for you. If it's safe, if it's like done, then like you don't have to worry about all the you know experiences, and you can just be happier. What would you agree?
I would agree in a utopian society, because in a utopia, actually, we should talk about utopia and dystopia in a different topic.
That'd be very interesting.
I haven't thought about this. Yeah. But I'll do some more research into that. Like, maybe read more books. Maybe study George Orwell again, like I did in high school. You didn't do George Orwell?
No, not that book. But I think I did another one on.
Wait, Brave New World.
Bro, it was so long ago, I forgot. It was like a whole year ago, mate.
Right.
One whole year.
Right, yeah. No. I reckon, we should get back to this topic.
I'm trying to remember what book I read for like senior year, dystopian utopia. Oh, it was the one where the girls in I think it was the one where the girls in World War II in Germany, and she's like blind. Anyways.
Is it fiction? Or like...
It's like historical fiction.
Yeah. It's like historical fiction. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, we should get back to this part. Yeah. Anyways, what I was saying, in a utopia, I guess being optimistic would be better, because in a utopia, it's a perfect society.
Taken care of.
There's no and then you have no chance to, I guess, fail or even die, or just like have negative experiences in a utopia. This is basically like the happiness machine you were talking about. Yeah. Surprisingly, we didn't even mention utopia in the thing. We didn't mention it once at all.
Pretty much, we were discussing in the last episode. We were discussing a utopia in the machine. So.
I guess, but I think utopia would be more based on like society as a whole rather than your individual experiences. So it'll be like a different perspective of what we're talking about. So we'll get back to that next time. So. Yeah, I agree with you that in utopias you'll be better being optimistic.
And
how about a
you'll be pessimistic as well. No, you actually do see that in like, you know, real life in real life and like even in like fiction based on real life, where like in the utopian society, everyone like they're very naive, they have no idea what's going on, they're very like optimistic, they're very happy, and like they don't give a shit what's going on. But like in the for example, in like an upper class, the society is like very optimistic, they're like happy and shit, they have no idea what's going on. But then you go to like the lower class and like the like the slums and all the peasants and shit, like they would be more like pessimistic. They would be like worrying about their lives every day. They'd be in a dystopia compared to the upper class. So like, yeah, it's based in reality, I guess. Right. So that just shows like optimism and pessimism is just pretty much based on your environment through like historical evidence.
Yeah.
Nah, but we still have to talk about expectations and like how that affects, or like how pessimism, optimism affects expectations and shit. You seem pretty inclined to talk about that. What are your thoughts?
You mean you expect me to talk about it, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, the expectations. I think it's a very important topic because, especially, I don't want to bring down lockdown again because I don't want to sound too pessimistic in this podcast. But yeah, so I think expectations is pretty important to what you think. So, right now here, I think lockdown's been extended by 4 weeks, right? So
for now,
yeah. But if I had, my expectations are pretty low, so I think it'll be a bit longer. So, but let's say if my expectations is really high in 4 weeks, I'll be just going out and having fun. And then they said, lockdown's being extended. I'll be like kind of miserable, right?
Yeah.
So, and same with a lot of people, like everyone in New South Wales right now, which is, it's not a good thing. But if you keep your expectations low, it's better off long term because you won't be dissatisfied. And I think this kind of relates to Buddhism as well, where you want to minimize your desires.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? Have you heard a bit about Buddhism, or you don't know much on the topic?
No, I have. How life's unhappiness comes from desire and like wanting more and not being content with what you have. Yeah.
So according to Buddhism, I don't know much about it, but in a nutshell, I know that desire is the main cause of suffering.
Yeah.
And then if you want to reach like nirvana or like the perfect enlightenment, you want to minimize as much desires as you can and just be content with, I guess, what you have and just the current state. Or I'm not too sure, but yeah. So you know how like monks, they would just let go of like external desires such as like eating a lot or just even having sex. I had to bring that up. So they'll let go of a lot of these desires, and it's a path to happiness for them.
And a lot of monks and people like that, like they do that. But my question is, does it actually bring happiness, or does it just take away does it actually bring like true happiness, or does it take away?
I don't really know.
Like, does it take away the possibility of unhappiness? Like I know you don't know, but like that's just like a question that's interesting to think about. Didn't you want to be a monk at one point, like for a bit? Didn't you have that phase?
Yeah, I think that was during. I think I had a haircut.
Yeah. You like shaved everything off.
Yeah, stole my driver's license, so I'm like bald, and and everyone started like rubbing my belly, and I would just like grant them like good luck, and if
Buddha.
I would get a lot of respect for that. So maybe that's the main reason why I want to become monk. I'll just give everyone good luck.
Brings you happiness.
But talk about desires and expectations. I guess they're kind of interlinked. So desires and expectations. Maybe. That's I think desires is like another really big topic. So if we should I think for that, like a future part 2 would be a good idea.
True. Talk about that. We have so much shit we can talk about.
So when you just like live your everyday life, do you usually have your expectations high or expectations low, or it depends on each situation? would you say?
Yeah, it depends on each situation, because it depends on each situation, but I think in the long term it's better to be optimistic, right? Because then,
I mean, well, let's just stay away from optimism. Just talk about expectations here, because I don't want to get too confused and kind of sidetrack off.
Oh, it's alright. Yeah. I'll try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like optimism in what I said as, it's like another word for high expectations, like good expectations. I feel like,
I guess.
Yeah, like it's the same. But I feel like long term I do have good, like high and good expectations, but like in the shorter term, my expectations are kind of like nil. They're not really like at the center of my thinking. They're just more like, more go with the flow. Not really care about results immediately, but like long term I want results and like good expectations. But I feel like that's a good mindset to have,
Right.
So you're not just like, if you have long term like low expectations, you're kind of just not doing anything to get there. You're just kind of like already dead and not doing much. But what about you?
You know how I say go with the flow? So I think for me, I think my expectations are around like middle, I guess. So just around the middle. But then if something doesn't happen my way, I think go with the flow is a good mindset.
Right.
Like, you just say it is what it is, like the meme.
Indeed.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
So with monks, I think they would have low desires theoretically, but their expectations wouldn't theoretically be low. So I guess that kind of is differentiated between expectations and desires. So I guess it's similar in some way, but different in some way, because like having your desires low doesn't mean you have low expectations, right? You could still have high expectations.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so like I think with monks, they still have the expectation of being enlightened and like being in a better mindset from having low desires. So expectations still exist. Yeah. They just have different ones, like different kinds of expectations. Yeah. But like with what I'm saying is like it does your life, like at least with pessimism and optimism in this case, like without one or the other, without a good balance, your life does like go to shit, because you need one to like balance the other one. You can't be too optimistic all the time, otherwise you won't account for like bad scenarios. And if you're like pessimistic all the time, then you won't have as much of a drive or like mindset to do better. So I just think it's the duality. It's really important to have both.
The duality. We're gonna say that.
I was gonna say that, but then it just gave me flashbacks to like year 12 English, bro.
Oh wait, is that what the text was called? Duality?
No, like the English teachers, they would not stop using duality, like duality of life and death. Duality
the fancy words. Man. Let's try to avoid those fancy words here.
And like, and all of like my classmates' essays, they had like duality like at least 20 times per paragraph. It gives me PTSD, man. Fucking
like I would like in class, like let's say my teacher would like write a paragraph, I would write down the keywords, then I'll just chuck in the essay, easy marks.
Don't even know what they mean, just like drag and drop.
Like when I just like read articles or just scroll the web and I look at these words, I'm like, hey, I remember this word,
copy and paste into a list.
I actually don't know what it means, because I always forget straight after, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good thing, but like if you get you marks, like when else are you gonna use the words anyways in normal life? True. So it doesn't really matter.
Anyways, about marks, right? I think it's about marks. It's like a good transition.
True. Yeah.
Is it good to keep your expectations low or high when you're getting your marks back?
I won't speak for if it's good or not, but with me, my expectations have been, so this is high, this is low. They've been in the gutter because, man, you called me the biggest dropkick during high school. I did not try at all, so my expectations were low. I feel like it is good to have a bit of both. Like if you have a high expectations for like if you have high expectations to get like a good mark for an exam, I feel like you'll get much more disappointed if it's not as high.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not always in your control. But if you have a low one, then like I guess you're more in a mindset of being like happy with your mark because you already experienced it.
I think.
What about you?
Like for me, I was in a more competitive environment, so it was pretty competitive in high school, I reckon. So, for the audience, we went to different high schools. Yeah.
Oh, we went to the same high school.
Yeah.
Until like year 10, grade 10, and then he went to a smarter one, and I was, it was in the same high school as I was before that. So.
Right. Yeah. But anyways.
But yeah, in your senior high school.
Yeah. So, I would usually keep my expectations a bit lower than just relatively than everyone else, because if I would get a high mark, I'll be more satisfied in my personal experience. And I think people with high expectations, like really high expectations, even if they get a good mark, they wouldn't be that satisfied. So
yeah I see.
And I think it was the way I was like raised up as well. So my parents didn't really pressure me to study or just like work harder. Like they wouldn't really tell me to study. Like they would tall me the benefits of studying,
but they wouldn't like push you actively.
Yeah. So I think that's like I think I'm really thankful for the way they raised me up. So they didn't really put high expectations on me. So I guess that would translate to me. I wouldn't have too much like high expectations for myself. So
I see.
Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah, having low expectations isn't a bad thing, because you'll get more satisfaction after.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that kind of wraps everything up nicely, because like the lower your expectations, the less you have to fall if it's a bad mark, and the higher potential of being satisfied with your mark if it's like good. If it's high expectations, high, like your like satisfaction with the mark will drop considerably if it's not what you wanted. But so I feel like a middle ground, but like, because I mean, if your expectations are too low all the time, then like and nothing's keeping you from trying hard, like if you're always expecting a low mark, you'd be just like, I'm expecting this test to be really hard, why would I even try? And you just actually get a low mark, and it's like a cycle.
A recycle,
like, a repeating cycle.
Cyclical, not recycle. Right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Did I say recycle?
Yeah.
I said it's like a cycle.
Oh, I thought it said recycle. Okay.
What? But yeah, I think that about wraps things up. Stay tuned for the next episode, which we don't know what it's going to be about, but I'm sure it'll be just as interesting as the previous 2 episodes have done. Don?
Yeah, so thumbs up if you're optimistic, and then if you're pessimistic, it's an upside down thumbs down. So and also subscribe and turn the notification bell on.
And, and all that. All right, we'll see you in the next one.
Still, whatever you want. All right, see you, man.
See ya, man.